Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be taking a look at the best junglers to snowball. 9 of the most dangerous champions with a lead. You know, the champions that get 2-3 kills early for free, your entire world reality dissolves, you head into an emotional distress that's been unprecedented in your life, and you're 99% sure you should open at 10 minutes. There are ways to sort of counteract that, but these champions, if they get 2-3 kills early, will definitely have the best ability to end the game from that lead. They're the best at using that lead. We will go over the champion, what makes them snowball well in the first place, how they can use that to end games and why, and just what makes them better than any other junglers at this specific feature. As always, if you do enjoy and learn something, please consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. The coaching VODs are available via Patreon in the description below. That being said, if you want to learn how to play these champions with all the tips, itemization, and suggestions you could ever want, the Mobalytics champion page has everything you need. With daily updates, the build page has the best items, runes, and more, which you can also auto-import into your client. And for you NA players, it also works for ARAM. Should you have a nemesis in a champion, you can head to the counters tab, which gives you a full breakdown of 200 IQ strategies and the champions you can use to inflict your wrath. If you simply want to learn a champion to increase your pool, you can head to the guide page, which will give you strength, weaknesses, power spikes, and a full game plan, in addition to a full combo page researched by only the most gifted mechanical gods. Finally, if you want to mimic the best in the world, the pro page will show you all the details from runes to abilities to items. All of this is also available on Mobalytics' companion, so head to the link in the description below to download that, which not only helps you climb more, it also supports the channel directly. Thank you very much. Let's begin with a jungler we haven't spoken about a lot at all recently, Echo. Now there are some crossovers between these kinds of videos, and that's what makes them good to main, hard to master, good for snowballing, good to win and climb. But certain champions just have a specific feature set like Echo that when they get 2 or 3 kills, you start to shake with nerves. The thing is, because of the point and click nature of, getting a rocket belt with a Lich Bane, I actually think an Echo with a rocket belt and Lich Bane is some of the best 2 item spikes in the game. The E suddenly just destroys you, it's point and click, not to mention the Q slows you for 1,000 years. And if you do happen to have a chance to kill him for his mistake, he's just going to use his passive and turbo sprint away, or ult you and kill you in the process. The thing with Echo that holds him back a little bit in terms of core jungle meta, which is why he needed that buff, that 150 to 200% bonus damage to monsters increase recently, is that his early game isn't as potent as a lot of other meta junglers. The thing is, he's so good now at clearing decently, he will be almost primed for every counter gank opportunity. He has a 2.25 second stun at rank 1, and if he's good at tracking and not sort of instigating his fights but cleaning them up, being in the right place at the right time, it's very difficult to avoid getting him to snowball. Eventually, if things don't even go his way, he has the Nash's Tooth option for elongated fights and split pushing. He also can split push anyway without the item. And like a Nunu, what are you gonna do if you're coin flipping a Baron or a Dragon? How do you outsmite a Flash E smite combo? It's almost impossible. With all this at his disposal, there's no real game state where you feel completely helpless. He will scale, and if he gets 1, 2, or 3 kills early, especially, and gets a lead ahead of the enemy jungler, you cannot match him 1v1, you cannot afford to 2v2 most fights. This is one of the best 1v5, 1v9 junglers in the game if you're looking to snowball, solo carry, and I started that off like there were going to be 3 things, but there are 2. I don't think you need much more than that. Now this isn't in any real special order, but I will save some special choices for the end. Second, we have to talk about Kindred. I know Kindred shows up in a lot of these videos, which is why they're considered one of the most complete and total carry junglers in the game. If you see these champions show up a lot in these kind of niche tier list videos, it's because they're just so good at so many things that allow you to carry. The counterpoint is you need to put a lot of time to invest into their playstyle, to become one with the life, and understand where your damage limitations end and where they begin. Kindred, via byproduct of the mark system, has almost infinite scaling. If you have great aggressive early pathing, you will be able to snowball with ease every single game. Go to the gameplay channel, have a look. Multiple Kindred videos have been covered, they've all done supremely well. Why? Because they have a focus on snowballing and closing games out, and guess what? In any elo where you might have throws and idiotic macro plays via your ADC who doesn't realize they are not the center of the entire universe, while you still scale to infinity and beyond, and if you decide to go for a crit build where you sort of really get ahead, you become an assassin that can also save the lives of others. I mean, we know they're death incarnate, but it's called Lamb's Respite, so hopefully you can connect the dots. Just please understand that if you are a Kindred player and you're passive and waiting to scale, you are not snowballing, you are not using their strongest feature. Get aggressive pathing, use your bully ability in the early game. You can invade and fight almost any other jungler, and because your numbers keep scaling and scaling and scaling, and the fact that you're ranged and have a slow, definitely one of the best to snowball. Now next we have Virkayu. Obviously he was gutted, well, taken out back and then gutted with his own sword, but he's still picked with one of the highest pick rates in the game. He is supremely popular, high elo to low elo. People love this champion. Why? Because he snowballs, because he's like a Kindred, he's like a Rengar, and I've said this since day one. The added benefit here is that, he gets reset, so he's got that Katarina aspect as well. You don't see pentakills from junglers in professional play anymore unless it's something like Virkayu, or another champion that's coming up soon. Getting 1, 2, 3 kills early on this champion gives you such a numbers advantage in fights, plus the fact that now, yes, they've nerfed the heal, but if you go in that Kraken Slayer build, people are still defaulting to Divine Sunder. It's still good, but you need a bit more AD to get maximum heal. Regardless, it's almost impossible to keep track of this champion. The difference is now he is actually killable in some of these mid to later game fights. That's what I've noticed personally. Even if he gets 1 or 2 resets, it's not like he's healing to full life every single time immediately, and there is a window for me to counterplay it. However, if you have enough of a lead and you're playing aggressively, like I said with Kindred, don't be passive, look to go fighting, look to get ganks. You need to be active. If you're just going to passively exist to scale, you're not using his strength. Snowballing, taking control, beating everyone 1v1, and then, becoming them. And while most of you are doing that, a lot of Kha'Zix players are going, well, Conqueror, Bruiser, Dark Harvest Assassin, Electrocute Assassin if I still wish to do this. He has been enjoying a quietly and under the radar dominant season. The thing is, with the isolation damage, if you pick up 1, 2, 3 kills early with Kha'Zix, the enemy jungler is already sitting in their blue buff, always wondering, well, am I dead here? I don't know. I need to go topside to fight the Kha'Zix. Do I have prio? Is anyone rotating? Okay, I guess I leave. Enjoy your herald. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't 1v1 him. The isolation damage plus the evolved Qs if he goes for that is just equaling death for you. Then when he has evolved W, he's got 90% slow on that when you're isolated as well, which means if he catches you, you're not moving. And that's a double whammy because you're not moving and then you're dead and then you're not moving because you're dead. The fact that he can get multiple procs of the unseen threat through Duskblade and ultimate usage means that not only is he stacking the Dark Harvest with an unrelenting ease, if he does get ahead there, he can literally walk into lane, jump and one-shot your laners without a concern of what you want to do. The downside to snowballing Kha'Zix is a lot of players do not know how to teamfight. They do not have enough patience, they do not have the right target selection, which means he is a little weaker in terms of closing the games out. But if you get a triple kill with Kha'Zix, level 4, 5, 6, you should be very easily able to control the game, close it with objective control, and dominate through picks instead of necessarily forcing those team fights. Although if it does happen, sacrifice your team, go in at the right moment and, get a pentakill. And while you might be very much afraid of a Kha'Zix getting a few kills, of a Virkayu getting a few kills, how do you guys feel when Kayn gets a few kills, gets a lot of juicy orbs, and becomes Rast or the Shadow Assassin? Let's be honest, he is not as hard as some of the other champions on this list. He is much easier to control. Shadow Assassin doesn't require nearly as much skill as other assassins in terms of team fighting, like your Kha'Zixes, like your Rengars. But boy oh boy, if Kayn gets 3 kills bottom lane early, is able to invade you and kill you, what exactly are you meant to do to counteract this? Because of his shiftiness, especially Blue Kayn, because of the disruption and sustained healing of Raz, they become unkillable and very difficult to handle in their own ways. I mean, the Blue Kayn can miss literally all his abilities, smite you, ult you, the abilities are off cooldown again, he still gets the auto attack passive proc, which was nerfed but it doesn't matter, and then you die. Kayn is one of those ticking time bombs because he might be half a champion at the beginning, but when he becomes 2 champions in one when he gets form, if he gets that sooner, he gets it really early because of your mistake, because of Lena's mistakes, it doesn't matter. It's basically one of those very, very difficult situations to handle as an enemy jungler facing a Kayn. A lot of your counter ability of him is early, yes? You pick Kindred so you can use your range and bully him before he gets form. You can delay that by a few minutes, get those win conditions and snowball yourself before he inevitably becomes inevitable. Really, if you're looking to snowball in low elo, the Echo and Kayns make it so easy for you to become an unkillable demon monster. And yes, that means we need to talk about Rengar because he is not for the low elo players, he is for the higher elo players. But we must mention that he is getting a huge amount of changes coming his way. We don't know when, they're refining it, they're trying to make him a little bit more accessible without making him easy. They still want to keep that high skill cap available, but they do not want to stop him being a bone-toothed snowball stacking monster. I mean, when you have a passive that gives you percentage bonus AD, how do you fight that? Yes, Rengar is one of those Feast or Famine champions. If you do nothing, you're just a house cat. If you get a few kills, you're a lion. You can go lethality, you can go crit, you can go lethality, and then crit. You scale basically infinitely because you'll just keep racking in the gold. I mean, who remembers Season 10 and before? You'd go lethality first, and then you'd swap into crit later on for the Exodia build path. The thing about all of these champions, it really comes together in a Rengar player. You have to have killer instinct. Snowballing doesn't mean sitting back and waiting to scale. It means trying to make plays, good plays, that give you 2 or 3 kills that synergize with your kit and your scalings to give you abnormal damage that other champions cannot match. This is either through mechanisms such as the Kindred Mark system, the Rengar Bonetooth system, or the simple fact that their abilities have insane ratios that allow you with these itemization spikes to do more damage, to heal more than any other champion in the game. And that's why Rengar specifically does so damn well as a Snowball jungler, and everyone else on this list, of course. But if you don't want to invest 100 to 500 games to even begin to learn the limits of Rengar and become a savant with your pathing mechanics and understanding of the game, you can take the cheap way out and go for Master Yi. Is there anyone that's a better Snowball champion than Master Yi? I don't think so. He's like our Kassadin of the jungle, except most Master Yis are caught being very bad early. The fact that he has 60% damage reduction means that even early at level 3 it can be very difficult for high-powered champions to kill him. He just channels his Yoshimitsu and you just go, okay, understandable, have a nice day. And then he ends up coming at you with true damage auto attacks and an alpha reset that gets, lowered when he auto attacks you, and an ultimate ability that makes him run faster than Ghost, which also gets reset on takedowns. If you don't have coordinated CC, and if your tank, it doesn't really matter, he still shreds you, you can't deal with him. In higher elo, he sucks because most junglers, like I've talked about in this list, will play a Rengar, will play something like this, will obliterate his passive early, and he is never allowed to snowball himself. But in your lower to mid elo games where junglers do not punish enemy junglers, they do not deny enemy junglers, all you can do is farm well, control a few objectives, use your ultimate for lane ganks, side ganks, what have you, clean up, counter gank, you get that triple kill, no one can deal with you, they do not have the coordination, which is why he is a perpetual snowballing king of low elo, no matter what the meta, no matter what the season. And the moment you've all been waiting for, Qiyana. Apparently Riot liked my Forgotten Junglers video that I released way back in April where I said, wait a second, where's Qiyana? Where's Aatrox? Where's Shen? Where's Camille? Where are these great champions we had in the jungle that you just gutted? They said we don't want them in the jungle, but maybe we can give you some Qiyana. Base damage buffs plus an attack speed buff? That sounds like jungle clears just got way easier and a lot of people are gonna die at crab. 100% she will be a two-way flex pick at Worlds if these buffs stay true, so pay attention to the patch notes. But there's almost no other champion that you feel as much fear as you do when a Qiyana rotates level 3 and gets 2-3 kills. She will just obliterate you, all in you, and destroy you while having dash ability, invisibility, and a huge ass knockback that takes over the entire Baron pit. Or the entire side of the ARM bridge if that's your game mode of choice. She is almost unkillable when fed. You slap on a Yuumi, you slap on a Janna, anything like this to support her, really, the game is over. If anyone's been watching Blue Like Blue, you know exactly what I mean. He was playing with Scrub Noob, which means you have a Qiyana and Rengar in the jungle and in the mid lane, and now they're both snowballing after 2-3 kills early. How do you stop it? You don't. Their scaling is insane, their kits are insane, and it can feel almost impossible to stop her unless she herself throws, through bad mechanics or bad decision making. A Qiyana with a lead who has an itemization advantage over you is just demoralizing because of the scalings that she has. Her ultimate, 170% bonus AD, plus 10% of the target's maximum HP. I don't know, just better designed champion wins. Finally, I'm giving a specific shout out to multiple champions, but before I do that, Nidalee is the final one I want to talk about, but this is explicit to your Master Plus, to those people who have hands that function properly at a 1-to-1 ratio with their brain, that have low reaction speed and understand jungling at a very advanced level. A good Nidalee has to be hyper aggressive, hyper river control, and hyper focus on denying the enemy jungle. If you get 2-3 kills early, it should be over. However, you can actually come back into the game by nature of the fact that she's Nidalee. You can CC her, you can burst her out, but a good Nidalee will never allow the game to get to that point. You have to use your form switching and your auto attacks well, you have to use your map scaling super well. If you can invade and deny any jungler for whatever reason, if you have 2-3 kill lead over them, they should not be allowed to exist, which means your lanes are allowed to exist, and because you're Nidalee, you can impact them as well. She's the hardest jungler in the game and she rewards jungle knowledge and mechanical proficiency like no other. And now you might be saying, oh, what about Elise? What about Rek'Sai? What about Shaco and Evelynn? Elise and Rek'Sai are the queens of snowballing, no one denies this, but if you do not reach your win condition, if you let the game go beyond a certain point, you're done. Your champion doesn't have the scaling to necessarily win the game afterwards. As you would have seen in the infographics at the beginning, they need to have a kit that's able to control a game for the rest of the time that it's played, not have a timer on it. There's no sort of, oh, if you don't win by 25, you lose. You just keep scaling, you keep maintaining control, and honestly, the enemy team will have no way to deal with you. Shaco is very similar in that situation because most Shacos don't have the teamfight component, they don't have the group up component to necessarily survive the late game. And yes, Evelynn is the one that I will say she 100% can snowball, but if you're looking at this list of champions, and Evelynn that is fed becomes a super big question mark for the rest of the game. She can one-shot anyone, she can basically make it a 5v4 for the whole game, but if you're against another scaling comp that's 5v5 teamfight focused, if you're required to snowball and win through other mechanisms like solo objective control, split pushing, she cannot do that nearly as well as the other champions on this list. I also don't really fear an Evelynn walking into my jungle without ultimate, even if she's fed. If an Evelynn walks into a Rengar's jungle, even if she's snowballing, the Rengar's not really concerned, because if you have no ultimate, I'm 100% going to kill you. It's also much more difficult for her to get those snowball kills early, because she doesn't have camo until 6. The ultimate is, even though it was buffed, on a higher cooldown, and the other champions I mentioned don't really have these limitations. Well, there you have it, some of the best snowballing junglers and most dangerous junglers with the lead. Please do like, share, and comment if you enjoyed and learned something. Let me know in the comments if you have another jungler that you like to play because you feel the power of the snowball. And no, please don't put Nunu. Please do consider subscribing for a whole bunch of content coming up soon. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.